This right here is the one long conversation with your pal, Skip. Hey, Skip here. I know it's been like months since the last time that I did one of these. I've been busy writing a book, but it's time right now to do not one, not two, but three BizarroCon specials, because BizarroCon is next weekend here in Portland, Oregon. And today I'm going to be talking with a filmmaker named Todd Rohal. Todd recently made a film called Fuck My Son, which is amazing and which we will be showing at BizarroCon. And how crazy is this? As I sit down, just before I sat down to do this, I went to check the mail, and what should I receive in the mail but this beautiful testimonial to what it is that we'll be showing on Sunday. We also got 25 pairs of Pervo Vision glasses meant to enhance the experience, which also has nude block in case you want to de-enhance the experience. But I'm not going to show you those because I show you them later in the show. So here you go. We have a really fun, interesting conversation, which I think you will enjoy. Hey, we're going. Hi, man.
Hey, thank you for wanting to talk.
Oh, I totally want to talk. I mean, I can't believe it's been how many months since Fuck My Son played at the Tomorrow Theater here in Portland, Oregon?
Somewhere between a week and 20 years.
Yeah, somewhere in there. So that's how long we've been waiting to talk, because I went and saw that film at the Tomorrow Theater to a packed house full of people who had like so much fun.
It was so great.
It was so great. And we loved it so much. It was so funny. I'm walking out of there with my friends Linda and Robert, and I'm lighting my first post show joint on the sidewalk, and Linda turns to me and says, "So you're going to show this at BizarroCon, right?" And I'm like, "Well, normally we just do short films, but this is the most bizarro fucking thing in the world. So you're right." So then I asked you, and you said yes, and I asked you if we would like to talk here, and you said yes. And hi, here we are.
I say yeah. I like to say yes, based on that Jim Carrey movie that was so inspiring to so many. No, of course, yeah. It's like that. I mean, that Portland screen was great for many reasons, but yeah, just I love that theater because of its history, its recent history. Because like so many of these theaters have like history of being, staying alive because of exploitation or pornography or some kind of being a porno house. And this one just had, I mean, yeah, that it turned into some kind of swingers club thing, which is like anything that lasts, I guess, porno theaters that last into the 2000s turn into that. But, it leaves a lot of questions for me of like where a theater is going to be in 10 years from now, because they're not going to be, so many of them are not going to be running movies as we know them. It's dying out, like fast. And like me being on the road the last year with this thing, it's like, wow, yeah, they're burning out hard, so well, I'm curious what it'd all be. Although that one's under a nonprofit now in an art museum. So
yeah, basically the Portland Art Museum acquired it and has taken that great art responsibility to show movies like Fuck My Son. So I think they're all right.
Yes,
guys. And yeah, no, but you know what? You just opened Pandora's can of worms. So so what have you seen on the road the last year along those lines?
It's a mix. It's a really wild mix, but it's a lot of, well, I guess start on even like the festival level of things, like where there used to be, you could go to film festivals, play your movie, and then potentially, pick up some distribution and people would continue to put it out in some format. And that is just like, I mean, that feels like a bygone era already. So it's like the idea of playing at festivals means you're making a movie and just giving it to these places to show for free, which is not that any of this is a money-making endeavor by any means, or hasn't been for decades, but a nonprofit is what it's turning into, which would be great if investors could find out a way to, I'm going to put this money into this movie just as a work of art, just as a nonprofit. That's going to be few and far between, but yeah, it's really like there is no, the system just doesn't make sense to have to just make a movie, give it to venues that charge money, and then keep it for themselves to show this, because that's the only way they can sustain running a film festival. It's just none of it's really working. So we thought, okay, we're just going to take it out into theaters and do that, and we've been running it for 8 months, city by city, which is great.
Great.
But it's also like, like it goes from raising money for a movie to, putting a movie together, raising money, shooting the movie, doing post-production, then getting it out there. It's a long slog, and it's not possible to really survive during that period,
Not by doing that.
Not by doing that. Yeah. So it's curious. It's like I was just having a conversation with a filmmaker friend about this too, like in terms of it's multi-pronged, that's kind of really bringing things down in terms of press has a hard time writing about new movies that aren't like, don't have a story of like, movie makes unexpected $15 million in theater. Like if it's not money based, papers don't have an interest in it. So these writers that write about movies, they don't have jobs. And when they do, it has to be through something that gets attention, and often like movie no one's ever heard of doesn't get attention in the press, so therefore movie doesn't get attention. So it's like all the things that could present something new in front of people are it's harder than it was even just a few years ago to do that. So that's what I've been seeing in this last year, that I've really been noticing the differences between the other previous movies I've done, where I had to kind of, tackle similar things, similar obstacles. But then again, the audiences that are showing up are wonderful, like so supportive. And the difference between the internet and reality could not be more like black and white, where you can see that like the greatest people really there are people that have a thirst and a desire for things that, are a little more specific to them, that aren't for everybody. But online is telling you, everything online is saying, this needs a Rotten Tomatoes score of 100%, and we need everything, so those two worlds just don't connect. It's like the reason, it's like it's well, there's so many aspects that you can go into of that, but the positive thing to take away from that is what I've seen in reality is really supportive and wonderful, and is there, and not just for our film, but for a lot of other films. But the online version of that doesn't reflect reality. So I don't know what to say about that.
Well, one thing that I know to say about that is that it raises the distinct possibility that online life doesn't represent reality.
Yeah.
Just throwing it out there. And yet here we are, for the handful of people, however big those hands may be, that actually go on the internet to find out about real people doing real shit in the actual world where people might enjoy it. So tell me the story, if you can, of how this particular movie came to be. Actually, you know what? Before we even go into that, I want to talk with you about filmmaking communities and the fact, as I understand it, you have people that you work with that are like, you guys work together a lot. I mean, that there's a or you work.
I wish it was a lot, but when we work, we get to we come together.
Fair enough. More accurately stated. But yeah, I was just reading a long ago interview with you about your first feature, and you were saying that, it's like y'all were living in the same house when you were shooting it, and the guy that was pushing the camera rig knew as much about the movie as anybody else because you were all kind of dancing together on it. And yeah, one of the things that I loved about your movie, which I will say, I've been telling people, it's like if John Waters pushed David Cronenberg into his Brundlepod, but Frank Hennenlotter was in there.
Oh, that's the sweetest. That's the sweetest statement.
I'm just saying. I mean, that's how much fun it was, and that's how like fucking weird it is. And the fact that you and your friends came together and made this thing and made it what it is, I think really testifies to you have some awesome friends, and yeah, you did it. So now I'll go back to the question. It's like, how the fuck did this happen?
It came from I mean, thank you for saying all that. Yeah, it's like definitely like a talented group of people that that I've been lucky enough to meet over the course of many years. And yeah, it is the kind of thing where like if we were doing this every day, they'd be burnt out on it too. But it's like, every decade or so you can be like, all right, we're going to do this again. And that first movie you're talking about, this movie called Guatemalan Handshake that we shot on 35 millimeter anamorphic with these great big cameras and lenses,
Wow.
with normal people in a town in Harrisburg, outside of Harrisburg, Pennsylvania. I just
Oh
made
shit.
this kind of weird movie, and I wanted it to feel like this grand scale, real Hollywood-ish looking. I shouldn't say Hollywood, but just like on a grander scale movie about people that would never be in a movie, and it's weird, it's kind of poetic, it's strange, it's a strange movie that I think was just that came together because of where I was in my life and whatever. I would never be able to make that movie again right now, is what I'm saying, I
Sure,
guess.
sure.
But yeah, that informed a lot of like how to make something, because that movie was pulled off in an impossible way, like where we spent $50,000 to make it. I think we had $35,000 when we were shooting. We were shooting on 35 millimeter film,
Wow.
which is very expensive. Everyone was working for free. Yeah, we were living in houses together. We worked 7 days a week. We didn't know the rules that you're supposed to have breaks, and that like you shouldn't shoot in 18 locations on your first day of shooting.
Ah.
Very fun in retrospect.
Uh-huh.
But the fact that we pulled it off was it was a miracle. And like this movie with doing Fuck My Son was an equivalent to that. Obviously a very different movie, thankfully. And but like that was like, well, let's just make it like we did the first movie, where it's like, if you want to do this, please do. If you can't, I totally understand, but no one's gonna be giving us a bunch of money to do this, because it needs to be very specifically what it is. It's very hard to explain when it doesn't exist. And even giving people the comic book, that Johnny Ryan wrote, they were still like, how are you going to do this? How, and then giving them the script and they're like, I still don't know how you're going to do this. It's like every movie's like that. You can't, it's like so much of film is set up where people want to know exactly what it's going to be. I mean, because it's a lot of money they're putting into it. They want to know exactly what it's going to be when it's done. And sometimes it's like, I can't promise. I mean, like, you can't promise it's going to be that way. I guess that's why there's a lot of hucksters in this business. They're really good at lying and saying that stuff. And then they're the ones that rise to the top a lot. But with this, it was like, I want to be able to make something that nobody comes in and changes. We're going to keep the title of the comic book, Fuck My Son. And we're going to go from there. We're going to make something that we can't sell to Netflix, that we can't, that feels like it's outside of that doesn't ask for permission to be okay to be let in, to be let into whatever it is that gets the okay right now from gatekeepers or whatever that might be. Because a lot of the things that inspired me were like these things from the outside that were like, weren't playing by these necessarily like the rules of what everything else was. And not as a fuck you to everybody else, but because of a something that was within those filmmakers that were like, I want to see this other thing. I want to see something else that's different. And also to kind of tell anyone, it's like, it's not about remaking this type of movie. It's not like remaking Pink Flamingos, but what's that version of that thing that that you're not seeing, that just gives someone else permission to say, yes, oh yeah, I should do that thing I want to do, rather than
Yes.
repeat the Sundance looking movie and that kind of thing, like repeat what we've already seen a million times. And I have to say, you get arrows slinged at you like crazy when you go outside of that box, and not from necessarily the corporate level of things, not from the corporation saying, hey, you can't do this, from audiences and people that don't like people working outside of the are pushing things outside of the box that's been set, that society has agreed on, I guess. It's Oh yeah, I wish I was a little more
No,
articulate about this.
no, dude, I think you expressed it very well. The fact of the matter is, there are idiosyncratic artists that do the movies that only they can do, and then there are artists that are just trying to do the movies that everybody's already done. Um, um, this only I get to do it this time, right?
Right.
And I've always been drawn to those filmmakers that it's like there's nobody else on earth would make this movie. Nobody else would even try. And if they tried, it still wouldn't be this.
Yes.
So, I mean, who are the ones that inspire you? The ones that told you that this was possible?
Early on, it's like a lot of them are now like are now like icons, but like at the time, I mean, even when I was a kid, it was, like Paul Rubens, Pee Wee Herman stuff gave me, a lot of, I mean, he just opened up doors to like, transgressive, weird art, subversive stuff that like I didn't even know what it was. He was just kind of putting in front of you, and then you'd have to go figure out what a lot of those pieces were. But even like early like Three Stooges stuff, or the Marx Brothers, like anything that kind of hit on levels of surrealism before I knew what that was,
Yeah.
I was attracted to. High school is when I discovered John Waters stuff, when a friend's dad showed me Pink Flamingos, and that just blew my mind open. Went to film school and started seeing the work of the Kuchar brothers, and who were inspirations for John Waters, and started tying these pieces, seeing these paths, how these pieces connected, which was very exciting to be like, oh, and it just felt like that world was so big.
Yeah.
I saw Gummo in a movie theater right when I graduated college. That movie came out in '97, and that just really, that was something I thought was going to change the world, that movie, because it just like how it felt, it was taking all of I never really liked French cinema, but it took everything that was fun about like French cinema and a lot of international cinema, and made an American version of it, which had not really been done like that I had ever seen before, that
Right.
felt very personal to me, somebody that was coming from Ohio, that could really connect to something that felt not pretentious and not, full of cool people, and it was very dirty and felt very real to me.
Yeah.
And I loved that. Love that. And I think it took being translated through a truly American filmmaker like Harmony Korine to do that. Herzog, all this kind of stuff started coming in college, or around that age.
Jodorowsky?
I did, but I never really, I wasn't like super into drugs in college. So
Okay.
like I was definitely pulled to more things that were like, that had more direct connections to like old timey Buster Keaton comedy, that was like in film like that. Like I was really adverse to like seriousness, and to my detriment, I think. Like always loved like, so I always felt like, yeah, I really loved American filmmaking, and I always felt like that, what is that? And it was like, it always had a sense of humor, which I felt like a lot of European films lacked.
Yes.
And so I was really like adverse to a lot of ultra serious, or anything that, like, I don't understand poetry, can't read poetry, don't, because I don't have that. I can visually, I can see poetry in art and in visual mediums, but like, and I can read books perfectly fine,
Yeah.
but like, so like I just couldn't connect with things that felt that they were written in poetic, or any kind of poetry, or had metaphor or anything. And I think that's why I was drawn even to Herzog stuff, because he's very much not, not like a poet in that sense. Like he's a visual, you know, filmmaker, and also his sense of humor is so strong coming from the darkest places there. Anyhow,
yeah.
I forget what question I'm answering right now. I'm really going off on some 18 tangents there.
No, it's cool. I mean, and that's kind of the point. I mean, the reason this thing is called The One Long Conversation is because once you start talking without a script, you know, shit happens.
Yeah.
So how about like Russ Meyer? Was Russ Meyer a thing for you?
Yeah, definitely. Once branching off of the John Waters stuff, but still, to me, it was like that was too normie. Like for me, because it felt like, oh, I get it. It's a porno. You know, it's like it never really like. I love the cartoonishness of it, but I was like, I need more in this. You know, like I needed to have more stuff. So I always admired that, and especially the advertising aspects of his stuff. Like all the marketing stuff and all the gimmick, you know, like the same way of like William Castle stuff, like love got into gimmicky things, and love that whole era of you know, even exploitation movie stuff, of that period, of just anything that felt schlocky and would advertise itself as, you know, you can't see this, you know, this is forbidden, this is loved, that kind of stuff.
Yeah. When of course that throws me back to, hang on just a second. My pair of
your Pervo-Vision
glasses. Pervo-Vision glasses, very important. And I really appreciated the fact that if you didn't want to experience Pervo-Vision, you had the option of nude block, which I have to tell you didn't work nearly as well as the Pervo-Vision. I still kept seeing naked shit, you know.
I know. I think I did devise, after making those now, I was like, I think I might actually have a way to do an actual nude. I mean, they obviously wouldn't work in the flip around glasses, but I was like, maybe I can make a nude block version that will work.
You know, frankly, I prefer the fact that nude block doesn't work.
That was the joke built into it, but and it's very fun to see this in a theater when it's like, put your glasses on now, and you see everybody put them on and then just get bummed that it's like, oh, this is all for nothing. Which is, you know.
No, I'll tell you what though, the trippy parts when I put the glasses on didn't get less trippy.
Yeah, that's true. There was a friend brought another friend who was like on acid during the movie and had a spiritual experience because he wore the glasses through the whole thing. Ooh. And he left the movie, like it was at the Alamo in Austin. We were doing a screening there, and we're walking in to do the Q&A, and this guy runs past us and he's just shaking his head like this, and I was like, oh no, like he hated it. And I was like, that's crazy how fast he was running out of here, but he was watched the whole movie. And later found out that was my friend's friend, and he was like out of his mind, like in love with, like he was losing his mind about how great it was. And he said he was standing up in the back, like just like holding his hands up, and at the end of the movie had to leave the theater to walk around, and then came back for the Q&A. But he was very very high on acid, I think, at that point in time, which I have not seen the movie that way, but it was, as a first-time experience with those glasses, I guess, is a thing. And I wish that, you know, if I was alive in the 60s, we'd have a big hit on our hands.
Dude, I haven't dropped a hit of acid in almost 30 years now, but I tripped a lot as a kid.
Yeah.
If that movie had been around, I mean, I was the kid who at 16 went to the theater on acid to see The Exorcist when it premiered.
Holy shit. And you're alive.
It was great. It was great, man.
Wow. Yeah, that movie on its own is. Whew.
Yeah, on acid, it was even more.
Yeah.
But again, the notion that somebody would have a transcendent spiritual experience in the middle of Fuck My Son just makes me incredibly happy. That's great.
That's true. Yeah.
Wow. All right. Sending my love out to that individual, whoever they may be.
Yeah, you know, I need to contact. I should do an interview with him or something. He was our sound mixer's friend, who experienced that. But I should, now that he's like, I'm assuming sobered up from that time, I should talk to him about. I want to know what that was like and get all the details.
You know, he may not have come down from that trip. Weirder shit has happened.
He may be in theology school now. Yeah, he may be becoming a priest. I'm not sure. That is just me guessing, but that's what. But yeah, it's been fun to show this where people really do connect with it, and it is a divisive movie, and it's not intended to be at all. Like I don't think Johnny writes his comics to be divisive. He knows that they're touchy subjects and stuff. But it's interesting where yeah, you can be in a room where people are like losing their minds and having a great time, and other people are like just miserable and hate it.
Yeah,
And I don't want to stew on that much, but it's interesting to me because that would make me want to go see a movie. It
totally.
was like, especially if I felt any pull towards it, like, because if you feel a little pull towards something that's divisive, it's likely you're going to end up on the side that where you like it. Like you usually, if something's divisive, that if it's not for you, especially if it's got a title like this. I would think. Um,
I mean, there's truth in advertising, and I really appreciate that. Just the fact that this movie doesn't mislead you as to what's going on. You have no idea going in what's going to happen to you because so much happens, and almost all of it is off the normative map. But the fact of the matter is, it's not like you tricked people into going and seeing an innocuous thing and then just like bitch slap them around. It's not like that at all. We were all willing accomplices in this when we showed up, and that was the thing. When you do things that again fall out of the normosphere, people do react weirdly to it. It's like, well, wait, this isn't what I thought life was.
yeah.
This isn't what I thought was supposed to happen in the world for me, and I've always been like tremendously excited about that stuff because I don't need to see the same story 10,000 times again. I'm always looking for the twist, and I have to say I love the fact I just discovered that the comic was called "Fuck My Son: A Tale of Terror." That makes me super happy because again, he's just telling you if you come in here, if you flip this open, scary shit is going to happen.
Yeah.
But just the fact that it's laid out like that also, immediately brings a smile to my face. And yeah, some people dance well with transgression, and some people are just magnetically repelled by it. And
I can understand that too, where it's even like a mood. There's times I'm like, I don't need to see that. I just want to watch, like I want to watch it, like I just watched the Up series, the new, like the 7 Up and 14. I'm like, that's what I need to watch tonight. It's just a portrait of British youth. Like, but yeah. And then I watched Chud last night, so it's like, but I like having like a little bit, it's like your mood can dictate that. But like what you were saying earlier is the thing that I can't always connect with, or that I can't understand, is not wanting surprises in what you're walking into, or not appreciating that like something is going to go in a different direction than what you thought. And I I don't, I really want to understand how there's an aversion to that.
yes, well, many people do not want to be challenged in their assumptions. Things got kind of laid out the way it was going to be. They got laid out pretty early in life, and then they're just going to keep going like that, right? And these are rule following. Yeah, you do this and you get that in the house and the family and the stuff. Just basically, and then we go to heaven, and then and there's and that's the trajectory. Many of us, for one reason or another, something happened in our lives, or we just came in dialed a little differently, but we figured out pretty early that wasn't how shit is at all. And I think if you were the kind of kid that looked in the cracks of things to see what was behind it, there's that. I also wonder, it's like, I'm very fortunate that even though I came from a normal family, they got Dr. Seuss books and read them to me when I was really tiny. And I was like, oh, this is amazing. I just felt like, oh, if that isn't a real word, he just makes one up. And and it's just full of creatures doing wild stuff, and the language danced, and everything was inventive, and it was exactly there. I've written about this, where then I would just start making up words, and they'd go, "That's not a real word." And it's like, "Yeah, it is. I just said it." And Dr. Seuss gave me permission to not need permission, and whereas a lot of the world is all about the permission, the way the world is structured. I don't know that that's an intrinsic thing in humanity, or if it is a reinforced thing, but I always knew, like in school, that the whole purpose of school was to make me a good cog for the machine, and I didn't want to be a cog for the machine. So if you're set up to be a cog and it all rolls like this, and then somebody shows you some crazy shit, and you're like, what? It can throw you, and it can piss you off, or make you feel like something must be done. It would make you want to waggle your scolding finger. But yeah, I mean, at the Tomorrow Theater, it wasn't full of those people. Those people are not attracted to a movie called Fuck My Son. And
that's where it's like although the majority of things you'll see in an art house, like there's a great quote that I attribute to Kaveh Zahidi, although he claims he didn't say it, but I swear he did. Is reaffirming our existing beliefs is not art. And I was like, that sums up so many movies that we see where it's like, this is just, we watch it, we agree with it, and we pat ourselves in the back. It tells us what we want, and it can't really go beyond that audience that it's intended for at that art house theater that's very left-leaning and stuff. And sometimes that's good to have a comforting story, but I do think, like you're saying, it's like, even as a kid, it's like we wanted to hear stories that terrified us, that like Grimm's fairy tale stuff. It's very basic kid stuff of throwing kids in an oven and threatening to cook them, and bears eating children, and things that were just like, what is going to happen here? Like what, we're pitted up against like our greatest fears of things under our bed and things coming to get us, and feeling excitement in that terror, or in a horror aspect. But that now I just wonder, like, yeah, I guess it is like, are we drifting more towards that? Like I feel like movies of the 1950s were very comforting, and because there was a code telling us, like, we have to have the villain needs to be caught and needs to be punished, and it needs to learn a lesson.
Yep.
And I think even as kids we get tired of the lessons. We're not in those stories for the lessons. We don't care about that. It's that's the way of an adult telling kids this is why the story's okay, is because of this lesson. And the movies of the 50s did that, and then they were turned on their heads, I think, in the 60s and 70s, when we were given a lot of things where, I mean, Easy Rider is the clearest example, when they get shot in the end. And that really Night of the Living Dead, it really flips people out. And then we come to like a movie like Get Out, right? Is that the Jordan Peele movie? Yeah. And at the end of that movie, I thought we were going towards a Night of the Living Dead type ending that might infuriate people, like where this guy doesn't get away with it, like is killed for, the wrong reasons,
It is possessed, or it has his soul taken away, so he can be stuffed in a cute young white man or something.
Right.
Yeah, no.
And then the movie doesn't do that. And I kind of wonder if that ushered in this era again of like, we just need to be told that everything is okay and that we're doing the right things. And it's like, but that's not true. Like the movies of the 50s, that's not true. That's not what was going on. And right now it's like, when things are being pushed against that, that narrative, there's a stronger pushback in society right now that's similar to the 50s or to that. But I just don't, to me it feels inhuman. It feels like it's not really like the way humans should be responding to art or the world.
I think the word I find rising up is, it's not bullshit. I think that we have, and I think this goes all the way back to the thing that we were talking about, about the difference between online experience and real life experience. I think that one thing that people are really, really tired of in real life is bullshit, of being handed a false bag of goods, and or like gas prices aren't bad. Suck it up. It's like, um, yeah, I'm tired of bullshit. I would love the world to shoot straight with me.
But aren't
To
these a lot of these movies now too, like, or just in art, it is bullshit when it just tells us what we already believe,
yeah,
right? It's like it's not the Trump type bullshit, but it's like bullshit that's like as if something's being done, it's like that makes us complacent. And it's like, and I'm not saying like a movie like Fuck My Son is the medicine for that, but I do think that it comes from like the type of subversive acts, subversive art that says like that makes you question where the rules are and what you're allowed to say and what's acceptable,
yep.
um or what's going to happen to you if you go past these self-imposed rules that society's put on us. Like, and I really think like that with this movie saying it's rated X. There's no, the X rating is a public or a public domain thing. Like the MPA did not copyright it or trademark it, so that's why it lost control and was used in the 70s to market pornographic movies. But so we can call this movie X, but there have been theaters that are telling us that they're not allowed to show it. It's not true. Like, there's no actual rules about that.
Right.
There's other people that are like, oh, we can't, like, we're worried about that, so we can't really talk to our owners of the theater. The bookers won't program the movie because of that. And it's like, these are rules that are not imposed by studios or by Netflix or by anybody. It is a rule that they just feel like exists somewhere that they don't want to push against, and
It's
that's
not a rule.
terrifying to me.
It's not a rule. It's a norm.
Yeah. Well, yeah, and it's like it's where we've boxed ourselves into this thing, and it's like, well, what else can't we do? So I just think like anything that pushes against that is an important thing. And even if Fuck My Son can say that, like, what are the rules? What can we do? It's really disheartening to have theaters, that and it's smaller theaters, that are saying like, oh, we can't show this movie in our here. It's just not, is not for us. But they'll show things that that do this kind of complacent, like we'll pat ourselves in the back type movies. It's like, what are you doing then? Like, what's the, if you're going to be saying that you're for freedom of speech and for all this stuff, like, but you aren't, you're not willing to, you're telling me right to my face because my movie seems offensive to you, that it's there's no place for it, and I just disagree with that. It's not, it is bullshit. It's like what you're saying. It's like at least be honest with me and saying our audience doesn't want this.
Yeah.
Fine.
Yeah, this does not sit well with me personally, so nobody else can see it. Now, I going back to the Grimm's fairy tales and so forth. Those were cautionary tales from an age in which your kids might get eaten by a bear or a pig outside and so forth. And so they thought it was important to tell children the grim realities of life at a very early age, and like the actual grim ones, not like
Yeah.
you're going to be resigned to wearing a suit and obeying from 9 to 5 every day. It was more like you're going to get your skull bisected by enormous jaws, and we'll never see you again.
Yeah.
We'll find that rag on your foot that was supposed to be a shoe. And then what happened is, as we created a society that was that had managed to remove a lot of those dangers from daily life for a lot of us, then it was like, we don't want to think about death, and we don't want to think about the horrible downsides of these things. We want to talk about love as if it's only a candy coated thing. We want to talk about truth so long as it's our truth and not somebody else's that we disagree with. And yeah, just a sort of a psychological clampdown that made us better behaved, more acculturated cogs in the machine, or citizens, or whatever. And that felt good, man. I really like that when I step outside my door, I'm not going to get eaten by a puma. I think that's pretty cool. And I like the fact that, I like every comfort that life has afforded me. But but I still want to know the fucking truth about how things actually are. And I know, okay, when I was a little kid, uh, Gunsmoke was one of the big shows. They were all
Mm.
big Western shows. And what would happen was the bad guy wearing the black hat would come into town, and then a good guy wearing a white hat would eventually have to shoot him because, of course, he had to shoot him. And he would get this little, maybe a little dot of blood on his chest, maybe not even the dot of blood. And he'd go, and he'd fall over, and then he'd get to make a little speech. And then you go, and you'd be dead. And that was it. Then I moved to Argentina, where the traffic cops carried submachine guns, and I saw like people die in the streets, and I'm like, well, that wasn't accurate.
Yeah.
Right. And then right around the same time, I started reading like Creepy Magazine, which turned me on to Edgar Allan Poe, which turned me on to Alfred Hitchcock and The Twilight Zone and all these other things, even the books, because I'm living in Argentina, I couldn't see the shows. But there was an Alfred Hitchcock anthology called Stories They Wouldn't Let Me Do on TV. I saw this when I was like 9 years old. And I'm like, I didn't know there were stories you weren't allowed to do on TV. And then I read the book, and it was full of wild shit. Ray Bradbury and Robert Bloch, the guy who wrote Psycho, and all these, characters. I'm reading this shit, and I'm like, oh. And then I read Lord of the Flies, and I was like, oh, if the controls go away, we'll eat each other. Okay, I get it. And meanwhile, I'm watching cops with some machine guns. So I was disabused of the fantasy at a very, very early age. And I actually had to like flee the country when the tanks were in the streets and
wow,
stuff. It's a fun story.
Yeah, that's wild.
Yeah, but again, it's like it's pretty demystifying shit if you're like a kid with your eyes open. And there wasn't enough bullshit in the world to spackle over that for me. And so I had an investment. I had a personal investment in people who would tell me the truth. In people who weren't going to pat me on the head and say, never you mind, Sonny. I wanted to know. And I think a lot of people want to know. And those are the people that we want to, those are the people we want to in our theaters, or reading our books or whatever, listening to our latest album. Because as long as we're doing that, we're keeping that current alive. We're keeping those threads in the culture alive by misbehaving in that way. And again, what's subversive mean? You got to be subverting something, and what you're subverting is that norm.
Right? Yeah.
So I think it's awesome. And anytime somebody does something that pops out and says, "Hi, I'm not doing that. I'm not playing that game." I'm like, "Cool, let's go see what that is."
Yeah.
And the other fact of the matter is that an awful lot of people who are behaving publicly, and then they're freaks in private.
Yep. Yeah.
They just can't they can't take off the Clark Kent glasses and reveal that they're actually super freak underneath. And so these things are also for them. These are like lifelines to people who have agreed to play the game, but that doesn't mean that their souls got owned, right? So that's like, I guess that's the maybe all too serious way of talking about the fun stuff that we've just been talking about.
Well, I admired Johnny Ryan so much because he's made the majority of his life, making these comics, amongst other things he's done, but what I know him for is, making these comics that continue to push and really push to the point that, death threats and people getting so upset about it. I mean, and even we were putting a screening together in Los Angeles, and it's like, I was like, oh, can we go over to this comic book shop and, get them to help promote it and do a ticket giveaway? And he's like, we could have, he's like, a couple months ago, one of their employees saw read one of my comics and got upset about it, and that comic shop used to like sell Johnny's work and like help him promote it and hang it up in the store and be the place you could get it, and now they don't carry it because of one person objected to it there, you know. And it's like Johnny continues to, you know, even Fuck My Son wasn't his main publisher is Fantagraphics. It's up here in Pacific Northwest.
Yeah.
And they've been putting his stuff out for decades, but they were like, we can't put out this comic because of the title. Or he had another one after this called Who Raped My Horse? And they're like, we can't put that on our shelves. And they were like, you know, like, we can't, we can put out Fat Cop, you know, because that's okay. But like, if someone sees the cover of this and gets mad, we can't deal with that. And Johnny's like, why can't you deal? Like, you have all this like manga porn shit going on. You have all, and they're like, well, whatever happens in the middle of the book, what happens in the pages is fine, but we can't have things that are offensive to people on the covers. And this is, again, this is a self-imposed thing on their side, because
Sure.
they've been attacked, you know, by one or two people, you know, that come in and say that. But like, I really think Johnny is someone very much worth listening to in the same way that Larry Flint was, you know, like in the 70s and 80s, of like, you're, you know, looking at this person and you're all saying, really, who cares? We're all right, we're fine. But it's like, these are the front line people of like what's coming for everyone else behind them. And that's not necessarily even just a government thing. That is a society thing. And,
yeah.
And so it's
somebody
like,
voted for those government people,
yeah,
you know, in order for them to do that. So it didn't like come out of the fucking blue. I was in Atlanta when Larry got shot.
Oh wow, okay, yeah. He was from Columbus, Ohio, where I was from, or he grew, or he started his publishing stuff there, and always felt proud of that aspect of Larry Flint.
You know, it's really interesting because, again, he wasn't a saint, but he was. He had a really interesting sense of conscience, and and the things that he called people on were things that I found myself kind of dragged into deeply admiring.
Yeah.
I remember when he put up the $1 million for anybody who could tell who actually killed JFK, and just, you know, many people were upset by the Hustler cover of the woman feeding herself into the meat grinder. But I was like, that is one of the best statements on what this whole skin mag game is about that I have ever seen.
Yeah.
And just the fact that like Steven Sabian wound up being his art director for so much of that crazy stuff, the dude who made Cafe Flesh.
I didn't know that. Okay.
Yeah, he was one of their main art directors there, and you know, and then he becomes friends with Frank Zappa, and it's just like, okay, I could definitely talk about seeing the breadcrumb trail of weirdness there. I mean, just let strange birds fly together sort of thing. It's fucking cool. Fascinating.
Having those voices is so important, and it's like, and they are easy people to take down. Like, oh, why is this person important? He's got flaws, and it's like, well, the decades of him going through that stuff really, you know, do get to him. What is you know, I'm sure questioning his importance in life, what he's doing, but it's like, he is, you know, I guess like with Johnny, it's like you could dismiss his work so easily. Why do we need this? Blah, blah, blah. You know, but then I read it, and it's just like, since picking up his stuff, I've always felt like there's something in there that I give a pass to, that I think is funny, that I think that's where it's, you know, that's what's worthwhile. It's not just trying to rile up people. It genuinely is like from a very like juvenile place, but it's it just pushes buttons in me that are like, wow, like I kind of want to see where my limit is on that, and then to see like, well, where with the stuff I make, where's the limit of where am I censoring myself, where am I stopping? And exactly what you're saying, like why, you know, like, why do people think that they should be just going to an office and working this job, and that's where they belong, and that there's no bar higher? All of that stuff is connected.
Yep.
Yeah.
All of these things are connected. It's really funny. Just for myself, I remember when Human Centipede came out, I was like, Yeah. Okay. I totally get why this is insane and hilarious, but I think I've suffered enough. I ingested so much painful, traumatic, super fucked up stuff in my life that I think I can uh, take a pass on the sewing my face to somebody's ass. And then uh, about a year and a half or so, 2 years later, I walk into a video store that still existed, and I'm like, is there anything in this store? I'm in a mood today. Is there anything in the store that could actually fuck with me? And I was like, oh, Human Centipede and Human Centipede 2. Huh. So I rented them.
Yeah.
I basically dared them to fuck with me. And have you seen Human Centipede 2?
Yes. Oh, not two. No, I stopped after one. I had my fill in there, but yeah.
I got to say, Human Centipede 1 was surprisingly genteel from what I was expecting. It was shot in a kind of a classical European framing, and it was a nicely made little movie about this horrible fucking idea.
Yeah.
So I'm like, okay, that wasn't so bad. I put on Human Centipede 2, and it is just the ugliest, most fucked up movie. It looks like it was shot on like a.
Oh, there we go. I got you back.
Okay, cool.
So
Okay,
pick up from Human Centipede 2.
Human Centipede 2. Okay, so basically, it's every fucked up thing I feared the first one would be. It looks like it's shot in this grainy black and white that looks like maybe a 7-Eleven security cam got kicked down a flight of steps or something, except for in 35 millimeter.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it's great looking, but it's really wrong. And it's all about this basically subliterate, nonverbal, sweaty, just horrible fucking guy who's obsessed with Human Centipede and wants to make his own. But of course, he doesn't have any surgical skills or anything, so it's all like nail guns and barbed wire and shit like that. And it just gets so fucking ugly
Yeah.
that by the end of the movie, I was yelling at the screen, "What the fuck? What is the matter with you? Why are you doing this?" And it gets to the ending, and I'm just like, I was laying in bed for the first part, and by the end, I'm sitting at the end of my bed, pointing at my TV, going, "What the fuck is the matter with you?" And I'm like, if only the filmmaker would explain to me why the fuck he just did that to me, I would be really grateful. Movie ends, special features, an interview with Tom Six. So I'm like, okay, let's go. Tom Six pops on the screen. He's wearing a little hat. He looks really happy, really pleased with himself. And he's just basically, yeah, man, we just had the best time making this thing, and I can't wait to make the next one. That's going to make this one look like Disneyland. And as I'm listening to him talk, I'm like, oh, wait a minute. You're like a young John Waters. You're performing an art crime and daring people to show up for it. And because you can't afford movie stars, you're making stars out of your friends. I think I like you. I think I might have. I think you got me, dude.
Yeah.
I think you got me. I dared a movie to get me, and you did. And, and then they had a behind the scenes of the big human centipedization sequence.
Mm-hmm.
It's the throwback conclusion of the motion picture event, and the first thing you see is all of these people in this warehouse, and they're laughing their asses off, and they're having the best time. And then you see this line of like 35 prosthetic asses just lined up. Like, okay, so nobody got pink eye making this thing. That's good. And I just, by the end of that, I was like, I love you guys. You're awesome.
Yeah.
And I just, you got me, man.
That's like the reading about the making of Solo, the Pasolini movie. And it's like, that apparently was like, they were laughing their asses off a lot. And they were also, there was like God dang it. I can't, there was another movie shooting at the same time on the same lot, and they would go out and have soccer games against, play against the crews, and the cast would play against each other. And so I think that, like, don't totally quote me on this, but like if you read into that stuff about the making of Solo, like a lot of the cast and stuff were like, it was pretty fun. It was like a good time because you're dealing with something with so much despair. And that's, obviously, I don't know. I mean, Human Centipede and Solo are very different, have different intentions behind them. But like the mood of the movies when they're done is, is maybe a similar kind of thing of like, how the fuck, like you're saying, like why are you doing this? But it's like there is a joy in like it, in all of in doing something so depraved. Because it is a freeing thing. It's like screaming. It's like, yeah, like letting out some energy that's like that. And like a lot of people with Fuck My Son were concerned about the little girl that's in it, and
Oh yeah.
and and it's like for a kid to be in the, when you're making a movie, seeing every effect come together and all that stuff, there is no sense of anything resembling what's in the final movie going on set. It's
Yeah.
just cracking up, it's doing dumb stuff. It's like, all of the gags are there and clear, that none of the stuff is connected to other humans. It's like, so it's such a fun experience that, yeah, I would, you know I would love to have made a movie that's just little kids doing the most violent, crazy shit, because I think it would be so cathartic for them, to see the difference between reality and fiction, and what that is, and how you can take something that is such a fun thing and turn it into something that would freak your parents out even seeing it happen, but that is truly coming from a kid's instinct of just fun and playing around and just being wrong and doing the things that you're not supposed to do.
You know who needs to make those movies, and I bet is actively doing it all over the place, and we just don't know it? Kids.
Yes.
You know, I
Yeah.
mean, so many of uh, my favorite fun filmmakers started making movies when they were kids. They got their parents' camcorder, or now they just got a phone and it works, um, and they just make shit. My kids
Mhm.
make crazy shit all the time,
Yeah.
and I mean, they weren't making their organs explode and stuff because they just didn't have the technical know how to do it. But if they had the technical know how to do it, they totally would have done it
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
it's fun. Um, yeah, that's the other thing. It's like laughing at death is a big part of being alive.
Mhm.
Just being able to laugh in the face of death and go, yeah, fuck you, man. We survived. And again, I mean, life is hilarious. What's the great Howard Walpole quote? Um, this life is a comedy to those who think and a tragedy to those who feel. And
Oh, yeah.
I always just really, really love that because it's the same thing, but you know, from any reasonable standpoint, existence is absurd,
Yeah.
right? It's
Yeah.
fucking ridiculous the way any of this stuff works, much less all of it. But if you were emotionally engaged with it, it's really sad. Um, and and you know what? The beautiful moments of sorrow and feeling in Fuck My Son really landed
Mm.
because of the craziness of everything else. When an actual human moment happens and you have several of them that
Mhm.
are that are like strategically deposited throughout, they really landed. I looked at my friends when they were, I'm looking at the screen. And I just look at my friends to see how they were feeling it, and they were feeling it, and it was like, yeah, yeah, this is good. And again, that's what lets you know that you're not just in the hands of a cinematic sadist who is there to hurt you because fuck you. I never got the sense when I was watching this movie that this was a movie designed to hurt me. You know,
Oh, good. Good.
yeah,
Yeah.
I felt like it was a movie designed to uh, to make me have a wild time with my friends, uh, and and it worked.
Great. Yeah. Yeah. That's what I appreciate that, because, yeah, it's like you want that's what, that's the experience you're trying to present here, and as much as you can, it'll still be lost on some folks, but when it works, I really want it to work on that. And it is just like that shifting of like you can take it's the same thing with Johnny's comics, like take it and it's like a tragedy, but he's able to just if we shift our perspective here and like take ourselves out of it a little bit, it's a cartoon. There's some weird ass comedy in this that like conjures up something else. And if we're open enough to things and know that, yeah, like that this is it's okay to laugh at this shit, or if you want to laugh at this, it's a good I think it's a very human a good way to be to exist, that's been done for centuries.
Yeah,
Um
absolutely. I think of the R. Crumb line, I am not responsible for the contents of my unconscious mind.
yeah, yes,
um, and you know, just recognizing the weird impulses that flow through the universe that we see exhibited in art, in behavior, and like in ourselves when we catch ourselves doing something weird. It's just, well, what? Why did I? What?
yeah,
Um, you know, that's to me, that's part of the most amazing part of being alive.
yeah,
So I wouldn't want
yeah.
to miss that shit.
Yeah, Johnny works on a special frequency that's very inspiring, and once you even just to like be able to be in that for a little bit is it has been life changing for me to make this movie. You know, in terms of like what permissions he gave, you know, like through his work, and you know, just for me to be like, oh shit, no, I need to. He set the bar up here. I would have taken it to here, but like by knowing that I can go here, it's a very freeing thing. You know, like
Yeah,
I just felt very lucky to be able to have that in my life because you don't know what you know you are who you are kind of again maybe bringing it back to the Michael Apted 7 Up series, you know, like where it's like you kind of are formulated at by 7 years old that you are this certain type of person, and like if you can kind of yeah have anything in your life that can bump you into there to be like there's these other possibilities, there's so much more that everyone is capable of. And it's like I know the ridiculousness of that with a movie called Fuck My Son, that it's like talking having these kind of conversations about it, but it is that it's like
yeah.
why these things why Paul Rubens has always resonated with me, why you know like John Waters has, why that's been consistent through my life, you know, like that there are all these people that are considered fringe people or that you know like that didn't make it to the big time type of things, you know, like and there's plenty of other people in that in those worlds too that like didn't pass into like a Hairspray type world or a
Oh,
Pee-wee's Playhouse type of world, you know, that resonated with more folks, that are just as important. And it's like that's yeah yeah, these are uh yeah, that those kind of personalities give us if we give them some oxygen, give us can open ourselves up to things that we didn't know were possible with what we are personally doing, even if it's such a God, sorry, I'm losing my train of thought on this, but yeah, it's like it really does by allow yeah by giving oxygen to these kind of stranger worlds that other people are doing or stranger ideas or things that feel subversive or transgressive, um it allows for a lot of other things to start opening up. It's not just that, it's not just allowing Johnny's comic to be you know some joke about Kyle Rittenhouse or something, you know, or some kind of weird comic about that. It's like it just like opens up a whole other world to other possibilities for other things to be made, you know. So he's an important person right now, I think, to me, you know, like in my life to see that.
I love that. Now, we've been going for just over an hour, and I just realized that there was one thing that I wanted to ask you about that we started to talk about, and then we went off everywhere else, and that's just basically. Um, so you've played how many towns with this film?
Just a little over 100, I think, at this point, but city by city, yeah, one at a time. So,
Amazing, amazing.
so
And you were saying, now, I mean, do they bring you? Are you four walling it? How are you? How is this happening?
we're booking it like a normal movie would, where there's like a split with the theaters. So it's
Right.
like they'll book it, you know, we don't have money to buy the theaters out. It's not been that at all. There's been no money in the, you know, to advertise or do any of this stuff.
Right.
Um, so it's been, yeah, basically like the theater tends to take a a significant cut of it, and we get a little bit of the door. And I should be selling merch, and I don't, and things like that.
Yeah, you
But that's
should.
a whole other thing.
You should.
That's a whole
Um,
other thing. But yeah, no, it's
I
just
would have
been.
bought it. I would have fucking bought it on the spot.
Yeah, I know. It's like
Yeah,
but it's a lot to
I understand.
making a movie and doing all that stuff is a lot. And I'm yeah, right now I'm just kind of at this point where it's like I'm just happy that it's out there, even if it's we could keep this going for years if we wanted to and debated it. Of when's a good stopping point or whatever. But yeah, the movie has to kind of take on a life of its own. But yeah, it's been 8 months consistently of just booking cities, and I have gone to a good amount of them, and then the next couple that I'm doing are basically the last for a little while
Okay.
of attending things. I say that, and then something might change in 2 weeks. So
Yeah. No, I wish you were going to join us in Portland for BizarroCon, where we're going to show it on the 17th at noon for the lucky winners who decide to be there. But the last thing I wanted to ask you about is you mentioned at the very beginning that a lot of these theaters aren't going to be theaters anymore.
yeah.
Let's just talk about not to bring everything all down and everything, but let's talk about the realities of where it is, because a lot of the people who watch this are either going to be filmmakers or people who like watching weird movies, and I think everybody wants to understand where the culture is going on this. So are you saying that they're going to turn into that they're like one step away from turning into Sunday swap meet locales, or they're just going to tear the screen down and turn them into shopping centers, or are they just trying to figure out new ways to get people in so that they can continue? How many of them feel like they're trying to turn into like a little community center, like a hub?
Some do. Some are lucky. Like Austin, Texas has Austin Film Society, or like you're saying, like at the Tomorrow Theater is owned by an art center now. So it's like those places are the ones that are turning towards community because they don't have to worry as much about oh, we need to to sell out these theaters. Like basically they're nonprofits. I mean, they are nonprofits.
Yeah.
Those ones are definitely more protected, and it's in an art museum type way. But a lot of that programming does tend to skew towards people that go to art museums. And like we were saying, it's like you may find every now and then something will come through there that isn't like vetted by Sundance or Cannes or something. So it's going to be a little harder to find things that are truly subversive or transgressive, because those are still on the fringes of what the art world, might do. Like I don't think that art cinema is as contemporary, like up with it. How do I want to say? Uh, it, it's a little more traditional in its programming and in what theater, movie theater programming is, than art museums might be. Where art museums might be showing work from 20-year-olds and things that are on the cusp and new and groundbreaking.
Mm-hmm.
Movie theaters tend to be showing things made by international filmmakers that have made a bunch of movies. There's not new voices, not as much.
Right.
As much as Sundance and people want to break these things out, those voices are kind of repeating what the other older voices said. This is all just my opinion. I know there are certainly like breakthrough, wonderful things that happen every couple times a year, but that
Yeah.
used to be a lot more. That was just a lot more diverse in terms of like what type of movies those were. Just harder to get stuff made. So I don't know. I'd say it's bleak, but it's like, I mean, it's a very hard business. If I were to open a movie theater right now, yeah, I don't know what I would be able to do. I think a lot of the audience are people that want to go see like movies like Under the Tuscan Sun. There's like an older crowd that just wants to see, older movies, that kind of genre.
Sure.
Um,
And fair enough. I mean, I don't blame them. I spend a stupid amount of time on the Criterion channel watching pre-code movies and just filling in all the holes in my database, because it's beautiful. I mean, we have this glorious history of film from
yeah.
from the
But
first crazy.
and it is like looking at like what Criterion releases of what might be subversive, transgressive movies like John Waters and that kind of stuff. It takes decades for those type of movies to get accepted into that world where they were completely like, go look at early reviews of that stuff, especially from anybody that was in a culture, perspective of things. And they are not embraced, and
Oh yeah.
so like even Criterion, you won't find that stuff. Like look at the new releases of what they're showing, and it is no relation to the goofiness of the other stuff. It has to age for decades in order for it to be accepted into something prestigious like that, or for anyone to take it seriously. And those people most of them are dead by the time their movies can have any appreciation on that level.
I was going to say, that earlier. Just like, yeah, a lot of my favorite artists are completely unrecognized in their lifetimes, and that's just kind of the way it goes.
Yeah.
But they made the weird shit, and we are lucky to have it. And you made some weird shit, and we're lucky to have it.
Thank you.
And yeah, dude, I could talk with you for hours, so maybe we need to hang out some more sometime.
Yeah, we should get the guy that watched the movie on acid, and we can all have a conversation with him.
Yes. If you find him, that's something to consider.
Okay.
And dude, great to see you.
Yeah, thanks for talking, and thank you for showing the movie. I hope it goes well there in whatever weird room you're showing it in.
We're showing it at the Dream Box at the Jupiter Theater. No, at the Jupiter Hotel.
Okay, the Dream Box sounds great.
Yeah, it's a cool, weird little room. Got a projector on the ceiling, a big screen that comes down. They can black out the windows, and we'll have a lot of fun.
Great. Well, thank you. Let me know how it goes, and yeah, we'll talk soon.